The show is about to start. Thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy the show, and please come back and visit us again.
I'd give the world to start all over, back in the old routine, to live my life in fields of clover, back in the old routine. Give me my old straw hat and a double truck, and down the avenue we'll go. Folks passing by us will stop and eye us. Soon there'll be more. I'll call an encore. We'll walk in a wonderful glow, Mr. O.
Okay, 9 Years Podcast, episode 105, with Nick Draper and Stuart Deakins, iTunes, YouTube, and 9wirespodcast.org. And yes, whilst the first team might be back in the old routine of losing without scoring, the podcast is looking to break the cycle in some small way, as usually we'd run through the week's games and then talk to someone or talk about something, and then we'd finish off to a photo of finish off with a preview of the coming game. But no, there are problems afoot. There are grumblings beneath the surface at AFC Wimbledon, and we must speak about them. So this week we're going to go straight into it. And Stu, there are a number of fans, as we know, who are publicly now calling for the manager to leave. This is a statement of fact. This is not the opinion of you or I at this present moment. However, this is obviously a prevailing mood around the fan base. So we thought this week we were going to put Neal Ardley on trial to try and determine whether he is being fairly or unfairly chastised from some of our supporters. Stu, you're quite happy to be the prosecution, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes, and I'm going to present the case for the defence, which is something we didn't do on Saturday. Anyway, joke. So, let's just get on with it. First charge against Neal Ardley, if you want to be the case for the prosecution. To begin with, he sets up his teams too defensively. I've got to actually defend that point. Oh dear, okay, go on.
Well, you can argue the point, because on Saturday he played with two defensive midfielders, so we played a 4-2-3-1 on Saturday against a team that have conceded 23 goals in 14 games and not one away from home before they played us on Saturday. So the argument is that why are we so defensive after a 3-1 win in a week against a really good Rotherham team? Playing Trotter and Saws as a holding midfielders when you literally have one person attacking. Plymouth come for a point. It only leaves really Dean Parrott was the one that was, if you play three in the middle, Dean Parrott was the attacking threat. And now we've gone to Forrester. We play him in a hole on Rotherham, and he does really well. And all of a sudden, we change it to a 4-2-3-1 and end up losing 1-0. We give a Plymouth team who were low on confidence, even though they had gone to Blackburn the midweek before they come to our place. But we gave them all the confidence in the world. And yes, I would argue that Neal Ardley does set up way too defensively.
But that's just one game. That is just one game. What about you've mentioned it there, what about the Rotherham game? I wouldn't say we set up too defensively there. I wouldn't say particularly defensive away at Southend. Could even argue we were a bit unlucky. Certainly not in that second half against Scunthorpe. Took the game to them. Same with Doncaster. That's not every single game. It's just the occasional game.
Yeah. I think you'd have to argue of how many goals have we actually scored. So, as Neal Ardley loves a stat, and we all love a stat, we have literally failed to score in probably, 3 out of 4 games. If we go back to the stats, I think it was 15, 16 games in the last 23 now, off the top of my head. That's a damning stat. So that doesn't say it's a one-off event. That says that whatever formation we play, whatever system we play, we look to not lose. We're frightened, as I've said on the Facebook Live, we are frightened in a way to win a game. Frightened in the terms of overcommitting luxury players. So we dropped Edgar Carja. Apparently we dropped him. We don't know if we dropped him, but we assume we dropped him. And how many attacking players do we have in a team to actually making a difference? So I would argue that it's not one game here, one game there. It's a continuous thing now.
But then again, when we play a team like Plymouth, who are going to come and set up 10 men behind the ball, or even at times 11 men behind the ball, restrict our space, as we've said many times, we don't have many options. We might have lots of attacking players, but we don't really have the opportunity to perhaps vary our play or the way we attack teams. So we're left in a sort of a difficult proposition when we play teams such as Plymouth, where you don't want to be gifting them possession. So you want to keep possession. You just have to be very, very patient. And sometimes, perhaps, you've got to be wary about being caught on the counter-attack against these sorts of teams. So you don't want to set up too attacking, do you?
And that's when you're scared to win a game. If you're the home team, you're the team that should be going out there and putting your number on them early on. So if you have a look at the bench on Saturday, Callum Kennedy, Deji Ojalaja, Edric Aja, Antti Hartigan, players that I would argue would come in and make an attacking threat. Callum Kennedy has got a proper left foot. Even Deji playing for one of the others, Deji can come out with the ball and start an attack. Will Nightingale's not the most comfortable with that, even though he's a good passer. Antti Hartigan can come on and pick a pass, a more forward pass. So I would argue that players on the bench take away that fact that actually we don't have any options. We do. We just don't play. We don't play in a formation that wants to go and really, really commit and go and win. And we're happy to take a point. But as you know, on Saturday, Plymouth grew confident in the game and they took it to us and they took the points, which was criminal on how we set up. Yeah,
but if we were to eliminate individual errors, which the manager can't legislate for, he can't do anything about that if a player decides to do something that is against instructions or whatever than that. It happens. We all make mistakes. If you were to eliminate player mistakes against, let's have a think, against Southend, certainly away at Blackpool, the goals we conceded to Scunthorpe, we'd picked up extra points here if it hadn't been for individual errors. And actually defensively, there's only, I think, 4 teams in fact, that have conceded fewer goals than us in the entire league. So we've got the 5th best defence in the division. So maybe that tactic of being a little bit too defensive is the right one for us, because we're not the best at going forward. By picking up points with the odd 1-0, like we have done Northampton against Blackburn, our tight defence is going to help us out if we could just cut out those individual player mistakes.
The problem is the more defensive you play, the more susceptible you are to individual errors. So you put more pressure on people. You literally, the way you're playing at the moment is your team near enough knows that if you make a mistake, then your forwards are not capable of scoring. Apart from Tuesday night, we scored 3 against Rotherham. I can't think the last time, I'm trying to think now, Rochdale at home was the last time we put 3 goals. I think that's probably
the end of last season.
Yeah, end of last season. The last time we scored 3 goals. So your defence is really under a lot of pressure when it knows that any mistake is going to cost you a game if you can't score goals, and especially if your team is not set up to go and take advantage. I think we could all say ifs and buts about. I'm sure there's many teams in this league that will say that if they hadn't made individual mistakes, then they'd probably be in a better league position. But I would argue the way we set up, we are so defensive, and it's not surprising that we have very, very good figures in terms of goals against, because we don't overcommit. But by not overcommitting means you pick up draws. In this league, picking up draws doesn't do an awful lot. Have a look at teams like Oldham by getting maximum points. By just picking up draws here and there is not going to take you away from the danger zone. And the longer we stay in and around the relegation area, or actually go into the bottom 4, the more the pressure will creep up on those players, and coincidentally could result in more individual errors.
Now, what I've noticed in this little debate is that I can't disagree with anything you've said, and in fact, every point you've put to me, I've countered with not a completely different point, but I've tried to take the argument down another route because I don't really have any comeback to what you've said. So I think, unfortunately, I kind of have to give you that one and say yes. I concede that we do set up for games too defensively, and let's be honest, I know Plymouth on Saturday seems to be the final straw for many people, because that was a game you don't need to set up that defensively with your 3 midfielders the way we did. But we'll come on to that issue later. But for the moment, yes, I would have to agree. We are setting up too defensively. What about tying into that point about being defensive, I mentioned there not having the attacking options, not having the variety perhaps to take the game to teams in different ways like we did last season, and that comes down to recruitment. So the next charge that Neal's on is has he got our recruitment wrong for the second season or the second summer in a row? Do you want me to go first?
You go first, because I found this one a bit more of I actually would support Neal in some areas on this one.
So you're actually going to be supportive? I would say I was actually going to lean the other way and say I was struggling to defend him. But my only defence, which is why I wanted to get in first, was the fact that in reality a lot of our problems in terms of recruitment stemmed, in my opinion, from unexpectedly losing Jake Reeves. And that created a little bit of panic. You can argue we didn't deal with it very well. But losing Jake Reeves shifted the focus of what we needed to bring into the squad away from where it should have been, thinking we needed to cover gaps that we thought we had, perhaps not anticipating, like I said on the podcast before, we already had a 17-year-old superstar that could step right in, but we didn't know that at the time, that he was going to equip himself so comfortably to League One football.
Yeah, I think the argument this year is I think we're one signing short of a decent recruitment. We all agreed on paper, and only on paper, this team is probably our strongest in terms of quality that we've had. But we are one type of forward missing. All right, we could say we were top heavy in midfield, but if we had that target man, I saw Tom Elliott come on against Birmingham on the weekend, and you just realise how much you missed a big man. But I would, if you go back to last season, what did he get wrong? He got Ryan Clark wrong. Yeah. Chris Whelpdale. Yeah. Tyrone Barnett. Target man. Yeah. Got wrong. But to flip it, he managed to get Darius Charles on a permanent deal, which I think was a great signing. We still know that now. And also brought in Dean Parrott and Don Polion. So I think you could counter that he did make some duds, but I also think he brought in some very, very good players. But this year he's got caught out. This year for whatever reason, the target man and the way we're playing makes all the other recruitment situations look bad.
If we change it slightly, though, instead of looking at recruitment, just look at transfer dealings as well, thinking about ins and outs. Was actively seeking to offload Don Polion a mistake? Because it seems to be the reason that Don was shown the door was for attitude or for team spirit type reasons, we believe. But actually, like you say there, how many goals did Don score? Was he not a joint top scorer? Or certainly up there. He was a player that is perhaps at times going to let you down defensively as well, but he's going to score you goals and win you games. I'm thinking, well, we know the success he had last year.
But that goes back also to the argument about being defensive, because we all know Neal Ardley likes to have a team that defend from the front. So Dom, by probably his own admission, isn't a team player. I don't think he is a team player. He's a very selfish forward. There's nothing wrong in that. But you knew that Don Polion wasn't happy at certain points, because I think he was being asked to do so much going the other way, and he probably wasn't fit enough to do that. You could argue Dean Parrott has fallen foul of that as well, because he's been openly said by Neal Ardley that he's not good enough in the other area, the other way. And this is all the evidence of Neal Ardley by his own admission, putting the micromanaging and the trying to get them to play in such a structure that sometimes feels like he's stifling the life out of some of these players, and no freedom or expression to do anything out of the ordinary, which has really turned this season that you and I probably, this is the least enjoyable season I can remember for a very long time. Yeah.
I don't even want to think how long. But look at that recruitment again. You say wanting players to defend from the front. The strikers this year we signed, he obviously went in with the idea of having a variety of strikers, but strikers that can only two strikers, Lyle Taylor and Cody McDonald, who you would say in the forward role are not suited to being a lone frontman. And a third, Kwesi Appiah, who can do it better, the best of the three, I think, but again, is not his strongest skill set. I think we saw that when he was first with us on loan, where his strongest skill was getting in behind teams or running at players, like he did for the goal against Blackburn. So I know we've talked about target man, and you could argue that the actual problem with the target man recruitment was the muddled thinking, or were we in the market for one or not? We were told no, then we were told we were trying to and we couldn't. So if we were not planning on playing two up front, if we were planning on going with this 4-3-3 formation when we were recruiting players, why did we sign someone like Cody McDonald? Was he there purely to be an impact sub? Because he's not going to do the defensive work. He's a poacher. He's got to be in the 6-yard box. He's not going to do the other side of it.
No, I still strongly believe we mucked up I still strongly believe we were going to go for a target man. I don't see any evidence to suggest that Neal Ardley ever plays without a target man. Every year he's signed players, we've always gone for a target man. You know, we had Michael Smith, we had Adi Aziz, who's a big lump. We all know that, don't we? We bought the biggest beast going in Adebayo and Fenwa, and then Tom Elliott. So to suggest that all of a sudden Neal Ardley's gone against his recruitment style suggests to me we mucked up. And I think maybe it was a 4-3-3, but plan B was probably a 4-4-2 with Cody McDonald playing off or Kwesi Appiah. And for whatever reason, and we may find it may come to light later on in the season that someone along the line is mucked up on getting a transfer target. Yeah, someone's mucked up on not getting a target man, because there's nothing to suggest Cody McDonald cannot play, as you rightly say, on his own as a target man. He can't do it. And we're now seeing the flip side to it, because some people are calling Cody, saying he's an absolute waste of time. You and I are defending him, saying that actually, how can you judge a striker when he's being asked to play in a position or a system that is totally not going to get to his strengths? So I strongly believe that we've mucked up in recruitment. We were after a target man. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
So is Neal guilty of getting recruitment wrong then for the last 2 seasons? You go back to last season, you think obviously we had a shorter period because of the playoffs. We weren't sure what division we were going to be in. And Neal said before this season that he held his hands up to it and said, I got my recruitment wrong. But was he being a bit harsh on himself? Because although he's talking about team spirit and we didn't finish the season very, very well at all, we know that. But actually, we were able to finish the season so poorly because we'd already done the hard work. We'd already got enough points. We were already safe in the division. So clearly the players he brought in last season had done the job that we wanted, had achieved our target for the season before the end of February, really.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think he got his recruitment wrong last year. I know everyone can always chuck in his face Ryan Clark, can always chuck in his face Chris Whelpdale. The fact is, Ryan Clark was a total oddball signing for a goalkeeper compared to what we went for before. However, for us old enough in the game to know the Oxford teams that we've seen, Ryan Clark always performed well for Oxford, against us admittedly, but always performed well, but was a bit of an oddball signing. So we can all call that. Chris Whelpdale, I will openly admit, I thought it was a great signing when we got him. He'd already scored 11 goals before Christmas for Steamage. Unfortunately, the reason he didn't score any more goals after Christmas was because he was injured. So you have to say that's a gamble that's backfired. We've done the same with Jonathan Mees before, when we've bought a known player that has an injury problem. And we're seeing, obviously Jonathan Mees is out and he returns. He had returned early this week in the reserve game. But I think his recruitment hasn't been that bad last season. You're right. We just run out of whatever it was, drive, determination. We run it out. And you could argue that people like Dean Parrott and Don Polion maybe did cause a little bit of trouble behind the scenes and we didn't have that team spirit. And Neal Ardley said that last year. We didn't have that togetherness. You could argue, do we have it now? So, where are we going with this one? Guilty or not guilty? Is he guilty of? I'm not guilty. I have a feeling there's something behind the scenes that we got wrong with the target man, so I'm going to say not guilty for that. Yeah, okay. I'd agree with you on not guilty on that one. But I would just add, you've mentioned their players, signing players like Whelpdale with injury problems, Kwesi Appiah. Yes. Could be put in that same bracket. But that is one that I guess we won't know for a little while yet. Anyway, okay, so not guilty on that one. What about not trusting our young players enough? Yeah, very difficult to defend Neal Ardley on this. And the irony is he's an ex-Cardiff City development academy manager, wasn't he, when he come and joined us? But I think it's a lot easier when you're in an academy manager position to develop talent for the first team, because your head's not on the block when you get into the first team of giving that academy product the games that he needs. So I look back last year, we had 7 academy graduates with squad numbers. The one who got the most appearances was Will Nightingale, who got 12 appearances. Alfie Egan got 9 appearances last year, 6 from the bench. George Oakley got 2 sub-appearances, and we had Paul Cannon-Baye and COC Oziorano, who got nothing last year. So you have to argue.
Can you just try saying Toyosi's name again, please?
So see, Olishana. I don't know. That's why I called him T. That's why I always called him T. A lot easier.
Just call him T. There you go. We know who you mean.
But stats alone suggest that no, we don't. When push come to shove, we didn't push the players in, and he doesn't. He will always go for his tried and trusted old pros. You can see that by what Saturday was the old boys act. Jimmy Abdu, Tom Sawers, Liam Trotter, Paul Robinson. If we're reading between the lines of a recent story that come out in a week, suggests that Will could be touch and go wherever he keeps his place. So does Deji come back in? But he doesn't. He doesn't trust his young players. When push comes to shove, he's not confident enough to rely on those kids. For whatever reason, he's not. But it's his job. I get that. It's his job. But I'd also argue he probably has one, and this is an interesting point we can go on about. I would argue he has one of the safest jobs in the Football League for a football club board to stick by their manager. 5 years is a long time in football.
I'd agree with you that he has one of the safest jobs. What we'd say about the young players is, though, we have a natural tendency, because you always want to see one of your own come through, and you always support these players that come through the academy more than perhaps some others. We perhaps judge them to be a little bit better than maybe they actually are. And Neal Ardley's in that awkward position of having to employ a number of youth products into the squad because of our tight budget. So he needs them for the numbers in there. But actually they're not that good. And we overrate them somewhat. And therefore he is right. He sees them more than we do.
But I suppose the question was, does he not trust our young players? So that's the thing, with Alfie Egan, the argument could be that actually he needs games. He needs confidence. You look at Anthony Hanscom, come in, got a few performances pre-season, done really well. His performances increased. His confidence increased. All right, we've now dropped him. He's now sitting on the bench. But I don't think he does. And that's the question. The charge is, does he trust our young players? I think he's guilty. He doesn't trust them. Well, the reason he doesn't trust them for, he's guilty of it.
I guess we have to make him guilty because we're right in saying he doesn't trust them. But then in the same regard, like I said, it's difficult to know because you don't know really the full reasoning behind them not being in the side. And you could argue that a lot of it's to do with protecting them. Do you know what this comes down to as well? And what would help in our judgments, and I was going to touch on this later, but let's get to it now. We still don't know why Edgy Karja was dropped on Saturday. That was a key point of our defeat, was the swap around in the lineup. And yet we don't know the reason behind it. If we knew that, it might be easier to judge. If he came out and he said, Egley's a young player, and he's not played that many games this season, and a third start in a week was just too much for him, then we can say, fair enough. We can then go on back to the point about being too defensive and whether the player that came in for Edgy was the right choice. But then at least we know the logic behind Edgy himself dropping out.
Yeah, but then we have the biggest argument at the moment is we have a club at the moment who is struggling to deal with the fact that we are in a little bit of I think we can quite safely say we are not in a good state at the moment. We are on a bad run. That probably will be argued by Neal Ardley, as he's argued it before. But we also have a club that just doesn't at the moment know how to react. There is no doubt there is a negativity around the club from the fans. I'm going to say the players, because the players are showing signs that I don't think they're all buying into the system. I can honestly say I don't see them all buying into it. Body language with Lyle Taylor and Cody McDonald, Dean Parrott, even Forrester, I don't trust his body language really is getting the best out of him. But yeah, we're not asking the questions. That question should have been asked by our communications team, or Neal Ardley should have provided that answer. But if he was too tired, then he didn't look too tired when he come on, did he? And I just felt, the the two defensive midfielders is just absolutely criminal. There's nothing more you can say. It's criminal that you put two defensive midfielders in a home game against a team at bottom.
And I'm just looking down my list of points that we're going to talk about, and I've noticed here I've made a note to discuss the comments about Will Nightingale that you've already alluded to that were in the local press this week, and I guess I have to make Neil guilty on this one because that's whether or not he was stitched up by the journalist who asked a question.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, we're talking about questions being asked. Nobody watching that game on Saturday would surely have that as a priority question to ask. What happened when, in that moment, Will Nightingale almost got caught dribbling out of his own box? It's like, why would you... There was a lot more bigger issues to discuss. So there is an element of that. But Neil didn't deal with it very well. His instinct, I think, with that question was, and his answer was to go on the attack against one of his own young players, which doesn't seem sensible, which probably hints at an underlying... Because that's his immediate reaction, isn't it? It's not like he's been given the question and he's had a day to reflect on it. He's given his answer there and then, and his first instinct there was to say it wasn't good enough, which probably reinforces his views he already has of Will's abilities.
But it's also symbolic of what areas on the pitch he looked at to criticise. He looked to criticise a centre-half for not doing a certain job or doing something. You know, if you look at the goal, he spoke openly about the goal. He spoke about the fact that we didn't show Kerry outside, which, yes, you want to show him down the line. But we didn't double up. We managed, he got the area, he got a ball in between the lines, so he got in behind our midfield two holding midfielders, although, if I remember correctly, I think we might have changed it by then, but my mind, I was so annoyed after the game on Saturday that my mind was playing tricks. But he got a run on George Frankham. You could argue, does George need to engage him higher up the pitch? And in that case, then we can get our defence out. But we had a defensive line of 4 or 5 players, all ball watching. But it's symbolic, though, that Neal Ardley picks up that. You know, I would pick up the fact that we had no attacking presence. So actually, the red herring is moaning about a goal that we've lost. Moaning about a goal you've conceded to lose a game 1-0 at home is a red herring. You should be the attacking team. You should be making an attacking effort, and we didn't. So I would be more looking about the fact of calling out why we got 2 defensive midfielders in there, including Jimmy Abdou, Anthony Haskell on the bench, Edgar Carjo on the bench, Callum Kennedy as a proper left back. That's where it's missing, and I think it tells a story when he wants to call out a centre half rather than looking at actually what did we do wrong with our selection.
Yeah, and to just bring it back then to the idea of trusting young players, I have to say, I think I might have to adjourn this one for another time, only because, yes, we've mentioned there not great comments in the press about Will, and you're right, Houtigan and Harkaja not getting in the team when arguably they should do, but then Will Nightingale himself has been chosen to maintain his centre-half position ahead of dead Josh Alaja. So he obviously trusts him enough to put him in starting lineup, but I'm going to adjourn that one, I think, for now, for the time being, because we're also very, very tight for time. I can't believe we've been talking for nearly half an hour already. Yeah,
we've only done a couple of points.
Yeah, I know, it's mad. But, okay, well, let's try and move to the next one. Now, I know I'm meant to be the case for the defence, but this is one where I'm going to have to jump on the attack and the prosecution for this one, I'm afraid. I don't know where you stand on this one, but Neil looks too closely at the small details of the Opta statistics, the marginal gains, and is therefore not seeing the bigger picture. I think the analogy or the metaphor, however you want to say it, is he's not seeing the wood for the trees. He is focusing too much on the little things like we've seen in the past. Do you remember we had the man of the match, meet the manager evening prior to the last season we had in League 2? So prior to the start of the season we got promoted. And he had a flip chart waiting for us, detailing all the statistics about why 3-4-3 is the future and the way to go. And everyone sat there was going, these statistics look really, really good and they're all in our favour, but they are taken from 6 games at the end of that season, in which I think we won 1 of them. We didn't score in 4 of them, and we lost 4-0 at Dagenham and Redbridge. So the biggest statistics were the ones he wasn't factoring into his argument. Yeah,
and I think this is a situation when Neil really needs to have I think Neal really desperately needs somebody to guide him at the moment. And this is not like him normally because he normally judges situations very well. But at the moment, by his use of certain stats, it's not doing any favours to fans. Fans are seeing through it. So he's looking at what I think Neal Ardley will look at how many shots those on target, possession, and he also looks at final third entries. That's what his main stats are looking at. But the problem is that a statistical game is great for analysing, but if you're fans like you and I, all we are seeing is our team not scoring. So you can say that you had the most amount of shots. You can say you had the most of 5 final third entries. But if your team does not look like it can score a goal, those stats don't tell you anything. And that's the problem with it. I think my issue isn't so much that he looks too closely on stats, because I think he should do, because that's not done him wrong any times recently. But stop, I think, trying to ram it down fans' throats that he knows best. I think showing a little bit of, I think sometimes drilling it down a little bit, sometimes just coming a little bit. He's used to be very good at that, but this season, for whatever reason, he seems to go on the offensive, and it's not. I don't know about you. You and I chat to quite a lot of fans, and it's not coming down very well at all. In fact, of literally calling fans out that they're wrong, let alone calling his players out. But I think with stats, the first person to ever use stats and Prozone, if you remember the old Prozone stuff that used to be done, was Sam Allardyce at Bolton, who played statistic football. And also the recruitment at Brentford is done by statistical information. So there is a place for it. It's nothing new what he's doing, but I think it's that relationship he uses it with the fans. I think sometimes fans don't want to know about stats. They don't really care how many shots on target they had. All they can see out there at the moment is a team not performing, and they don't understand the formation. They don't understand the selection process.
Yeah, there's a few things in there I want to unpick. The first one that comes to mind is the Sam Allardyce comparison there. Yes, Sam Allardyce was big on his statistics, and he'd make sure every game was analysed and had all the data with him at all times. Somebody used to sit up in the stand, didn't they, and be feeding back to him data as the game was going on, watching on a video. But actually, that reminds me, do you remember when Sammy Lee took over at Bolton, actually after Allardyce left, and Sammy Lee would have all this headset on and everything like this? It was a little bit over the top. It was a little bit unnecessary.
It was.
But anyway, Sam Allardyce also had a good instinct, though, for knowing when to just give his players a little bit of creative freedom. And that Bolton team that he brought back into the Premier League, look at the names he had. You're not telling me JJ Okocha was being judged on the amount of times he got back into position defensively when the opposition had the ball. He was judged on what he did with the ball in attacking areas. So maybe there is a time for stats, obviously, but there's also time for just some almost gut feel instinct to certain players. And we've had it in the past. We've had it in the past with Dave Anderson, for example. We all know the problems he had with Rob Ursel. But why are you going to get irritated with Rob Ursel for not tracking back?
Yeah, but you have to. I suppose it's an interesting. Actually, what you just said there actually raises another discussion point of can Neal Ardley, because Neal Ardley. So let's think about it, right. At the moment, we have an FA. We have St George's. St George's Park, which is an FA training centre, which is based on coaching our young, basically our coaches of the future. However, are they not all coming out the same? Are they not all coming out the same with the same rigid structure? So it feels to me that I would argue that could Neal Ardley play? Okay, so let's get a player now that we know is a current league player. So Walsall have got the little Messi, who plays a little bit of a free role, can play up front sometimes, can play in the hole behind, plays in midfield. But you literally give him license to do what he wants. So their little Messi is maybe our Dean Parrott. We already know the restrictions that Neal Ardley puts on Dean Parrott, to the extent that actually you get a Dean Parrott that is ineffective. And the only time he actually did look effective when actually you felt maybe the shackles had come off. So you wonder sometimes with the formation Neal Ardley plays and that tactical awareness and how he wants to use it, could he ever use any flair players? I challenge he can't.
Dean Parrott, it's funny you should mention him, because going back to your previous point when I said I wanted to unpick a few things you said, that was a key one for me pre-season, prior to the season starting, when we talked about statistics and the fact that Dean Parrott created more assists for us last season than any other player. And Neal's point, I think, pre-season was that he had other players in the team that had actually assisted more goal-scoring opportunities than Dean Parrott. But then does that not beg a question? Is that because Dean Parrott is a little bit more switched on and he only plays passes, do you know what I mean, in certain times or certain circumstances which are the most opportune for scoring a goal? Does George Franken playing a square pass 5 yards into Andy Barcham, who takes a shot from the edge of the box, is that counting as assisting a goal-scoring opportunity? When in reality, it was never... Do you see what I mean? You'd have to really break it down and go into this expected goals and all that sort of thing to really judge that full picture. The original point, not being able to see the wood for the trees, the statistics that the majority of the fans are seeing is Dean Parrott's got more assists than any other player last season, and you don't want to start with him.
I'd say, do you know what? I would tell you what I would suggest fans do at the moment. This is what I've been doing recently. I've been watching quite a lot of the goals highlights, and I've watched a few League One games live on TV. And when I look at games involving other teams, I see teams with expression, variety, wing play, all that. But this year, and I think this is why I've been really, really annoyed this year, is I see a Wimbledon team so regimented in a system. I could almost tell you how I could always tell you Lyle Taylor's role. I could almost tell you what he's supposed to do. You know, Harry Forrester on Saturday, I called it early on that he played a 4-2-3-1. He played wide of the three. His job was, when we had the ball, to come in and float around. It's just where Lyle Taylor was. But the moment we lost possession, he had to run miles to the far right-hand side. For a player that we're not too sure is fit yet. But it's almost as if you can't leave players in certain positions. They've all got to go back to their little holes, if it makes any sense. It's so regimented. But it's so regimented that you feel like if they're not in a certain zone, that a buzz is going to go off all of a sudden, or they're going to... It just feels... And that's where sometimes... And we're not picking on Neal Ardley here. I will say openly, I've got a lot of time for Neal Ardley. I respect him massively. But we also have to call it as it is, that he is micromanaging his players, and he said that he took the shackles off. I don't know how many games for, because I don't think it was many. But at the moment, I don't believe he's got a team that is playing for him in a happy manner. If that's how I can put it. It's not a happy team. It's not a happy team by any stretch of imagination. So your argument would be then micromanaging. That would fall under the line of looking too closely at the small, fine details in terms of the statistical analysis. And massively guilty. Yeah, I'd have to agree. We'll have to agree on that one. Sometimes overcomplicating, I think, is probably the... But didn't he say that earlier in the season? He said, maybe I've been trying too much information with the players. Yeah. And then the Will Nightingale thing in the week, the quote from Neal was something... It was a very detailed explanation of where and when Will should be playing certain passes and when he shouldn't and things like that. And I'm thinking, if I'm Will Nightingale, I'm not taking that all in the moment. I'm working on instinct in that certain situation that he was describing. So, and this is the confusing message. And this is the argument, Nick. Though the problem is, Neal Ardley this year is so many different things that have come out, and he's, in a way, we're picking up on certain things by what he is saying at certain points. You know, about shackles and 4-3-3 and Dean Parrott not defensively minded. All the, you know, there was even a quote from Neil Cox on iFollow last week about some players need a cuddle. And some players don't. Some players need a bit of a telling off. But the problem was that conversation was all around Lyle Taylor. So I'm no genius, but I could tell you the one who didn't get. I can tell the player who didn't get a basically arm around their shoulder. But all the things that are coming out, the things that are coming out, we can unfortunately throw back when we see performances like Saturday. You know, and I think there's a lot of frustration. I think there's a lot of fans that were really annoyed and disappointed on Saturday that we had a full house expecting goals and we got a defensive masterpiece. Defensive masterpiece. Barring a goal. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the goal as well. Is it blurring the lines here between our chat about the Plymouth game? We're running out of time, so I think we just go where the conversation takes us, I think, from here on in. But yes, that Plymouth game, you say defensive masterclass and players not being given freedom or too regimented or what have you. Plymouth scored that goal because they have a player break behind our back four. He breaks from midfield and no one tracks him.
When's the last time one of our midfielders got in front of our centre forwards?
We don't do it.
They just don't do it.
We don't do it. And we've got the best pitch. We just say, we just say this pitch going to be too good for the other teams. Sometimes you could argue that. But I thought Plymouth had the best player on the pitch. They had two of the best players on the pitch, actually. They had the number, I don't want to do a short number, was Sango, who you called early on in the first half. 4. Yeah, he bossed everything. And Carey, I thought Carey was excellent. Yep. Because I suppose he was a creative player that I'm just not used to seeing much this year.
Yeah, but also he was a creative player that didn't give the ball away.
Yeah.
He just didn't give... It's the old Michael Hughes argument. There was times when Michael Hughes would get the ball and run past players and really excite you and get you off your feet. But then he also knew the other times when just to slow himself up, play the short pass and keep possession. Very smart, switched on.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Carey did.
But we are saying, I'm saying that I thought they had the best two players on the pitch. I believe that because we didn't put them under the pressure we should have in the first half. So we let a Plymouth team come into us, no wins away from home, conceding goals left, right and centre. Let's not, we've just not discussed the fact they had a lone goalkeeper with one training session.
Yeah.
Who we allowed to leave Kings Meadow with the kit in the same condition it was when he first got it out of the wrapper. He never did anything. Someone tried to say to me he made a match-winning save.
It wasn't that good a save.
We throw the Alamo up at the end. I've seen that. I've seen us throwing the Alamo now 4 times, I think, in how many home games we had? 5, 6, 7 games? Yeah. I've seen that now. And we allowed a Plymouth team, low on confidence, to get their way into a game. Absolutely criminal. We should have been going at them early. Lads, they've got a lone goalkeeper. Let's chuck loads of crosses in, loads of shots, loads of pressure, high tempo. Let's get at them. We played it as if we played as if we were the team that wanted to edge their way into a game after a 3-1 win against an excellent Rotherham team, by the way. It's just, frustrated. I'm still getting angry now. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how long it's going to take to get over this. But
it's befuddling because you're right, because that 3-1 win in the week, you just expect the following game to be just on it from the first whistle like we were against Rotherham. It just didn't make any sense. Whether or not Plymouth were playing 4-1-4-1 and sticking men behind the ball, it doesn't matter. Like you say, yes, I know we don't have a target man, and I've defended him on this point in our style of play, but you're right, it doesn't actually really matter. Just get Forrester, if he's wide, to chuck balls in the box, and get Liam Trotter just to barge his way into the goalkeeper. We use his height, just unsettle him. We never did that. We were so wedded to this keep the ball on the ground and move it, and we never moved it quickly enough. We never have. I can't recall us ever, when we've played the ball on the floor, I don't recall us ever playing quickly enough, to be honest with you. We're always too slow and ponderous in it. In fact, was it us that I was watching? It might have been Rotherham, actually, I think, on the Tuesday night. And I was struck that when they had possession, and this is to their detriment, I'm not praising them for this, but every time they got possession, their players had it was like a training session. It was 2-touch. It was 1 touch to control the ball and open up your body, and the second touch was a pass. And that was that played into our hands, really, because they didn't ever move the ball quickly enough. And we never, ever, ever have. And maybe we're not capable of doing so. And if not, then that lack of a target man is what it all comes back down to again, doesn't it, for that second option? But
the target man is instrumental in how we can change games. It's not so much saying it's all of them. It's not saying that a target man would all of a sudden say, go from us finishing where we are, struggling for relegation and then finishing mid-table. It's not what we're saying. But if you're coming as an away team, you know how we're going to play. Nothing is going to surprise you. You know we're going to play short. We're going to play a short game, playing in between the lines, trying to get overloads. You sort of know. Teams press high against us. They make us try and go long because they know if it goes long, we haven't got anything high. It's a very easy game plan against us. I really do. But I think what's the disappointment in that Saturday was that it's the first game that I've come to for a long while at Kings Meadow, really excited about what I was going to see. I really thought we were going to see a continuation from Tuesday, high tempo, Lyle Taylor on fire, 4-4-2, all those sort of things. Crikey, even Matt Harwood, who's probably the grumpiest person on earth, even he was happy. Even he thought he was going to see a performance. And by half-time, I think anyone that watches the Facebook Live will see that all all that hope and whatever we had at the start of the game evaporated in 45 minutes.
And to go back to a point that you've made many times before, how many times on Saturday did you get out of your seat? I counted 0. Now, admittedly, I was sitting in the same seat that my brother had sat in a few weeks prior, where he wasn't allowed to stand up and got in a lot of trouble for doing so. However, there was no reason for me to get on my feet during that entire 90 minutes.
What I will say, though, because I sat with you in the second half, that area where your dad sits is brilliant because it's the George Frankham hate corner. Well, it's not a corner. It's basically it's the George Frankham hate zone, right? Okay. However,
hate zone.
It's that strong. I've heard some really strong language. However, George Frankham will be sending birthday cards and whatever it is to Liam Trotter because I heard somebody say, "Why the hell has George gone off? That Trotter should be going off." And that is some sort of success for George Frankham. All of a sudden, Liam Trotter has taken on that. I call it he's taken on a Laurie Sanchez role because when I was younger, Laurie Sanchez was always the player that got every time something wrong. It's Sanchez's fault. Liam Trotter has taken that mantle.
Now, is Liam Trotter ever going to score a winning goal in a cup final for us, or a winning goal to clinch us promotion? I find it unlikely.
It was though. Liam Trotter's last goal, you know, it was against it.
Was it against us?
And where it was?
At Kings Meadow against Ryan Clark?
Yeah. Oh, dear.
So this player that hasn't scored... Hold on, wasn't that... Oh, I can't remember if that was the one that Ryan Clark sort of let go through him. Was that that goal?
I think it might have been. I'm gonna look when we finish recording. I'm gonna look back and.
Okay, so but even if it was that one or the other one that they scored against us that day, so you're telling me that the player we played in attacking midfield, right behind the striker, was a player that hasn't scored a goal since August 2016.
Yes.
Oh dear. Okay, no more questions, Your Honour. That says it all. Now, yes, we'll talk about Liam Trotter. We are running late.
That's sounding great.
Yeah, we're running even later now.
Yeah.
But Liam Trotter, yes, you're right. I mean, he has been superseded as the hate figure around Kings Meadow. I singled him out the other week on the show, didn't I? So I have to hold my hands up as well. But lazy is the only word. We've talked about his laid-back style and how he goes about it. The moment that summed it up, we're never going to forget the moment. This will go down in history. This will be his Nick Roddice moment, unless he massively turns it around. Is the moment that the ball drops onto the edge of our box and he stands and watches it as it was Sanuga, wasn't it, who runs in and just takes the ball off him and keeps Plymouth on the attack.
It's really weird with Liam Trotter, right? Because I see a player, I can see how he's got moves around the division because his size and his presence. You can always see managers thinking, Joe, what? I'm going to be the manager that's going to get an extra 20% out of him, and it will really, because there's no doubt, you know, some of the things he does, you can see he undoubtedly has ability. You know, he's got a good presence, he's a very strong guy, but something there is just not clicking for whatever reason. But he did an iFollow interview in a week, and he come across as such an engaging character, really genuine.
Yep.
But on the pitch doesn't show that. So, you know, I think we haven't been, what I would argue, we haven't actually promoted a lot of our newer players a lot on the iFollow. That, I think, that's the first interview of Liam Trotter since he signed, if I remember correctly.
I think he did have one when he first joined upon his signing.
Yeah,
and that was
that's the last one.
Even then, again, that he came across as a really nice guy, intelligent
so
guy.
You want to like him. You want to like him. You know, I'm not here deliberately having to go at players because we don't want to do that. Generally want Liam Trotter to play well, but he is quickly getting the George Frankham treatment, which I wouldn't wish on anybody.
But does he get dropped for Charlton? No.
He won't. And we'll move on to Charlton. I'll tell you exactly why he won't get dropped against Charlton.
Well, we should probably not hang around, actually, because we are so late. So let's just quickly wrap up the Plymouth game. We won't have time for Darius Charlton, unfortunately, again this week. He'll be back next week. Hopefully Bruno Tonioli will be as well, so it would actually work, because he couldn't be bothered to turn up. You talk about not earning your money. Blimey, Bruno doesn't even bother turning up for the job he's employed to do, and no one seems to bat an eyelid. I don't know why I'm talking about this. Anyway, man of the match for the Plymouth game?
Pass. I really couldn't give you a man of the match.
No, I'm glad I can't think of one. Our poll on Twitter was won by Will, I think. So
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't even think who the other candidates were now, to be honest. Oh, Harry Forrester, actually. I take it back, Harry Forrester. Which is no surprise, because at least he looked like he might score a goal. But again, only once it was too late, really, as we've discussed. Anyway, very quickly, pick of the other results of the League One weekend.
Yeah, Charlton's 1-0 win at Bradford. I think is probably the pick of the results. Great win at Bradford. And I was also impressed, obviously we beat Rotherham 3-1 on the weekend. Sorry, on Tuesday. But I was really impressed with their comeback against Oxford. They were 3-1 down. They managed to get a point in a 3-3 draw. I think that tells you a lot about a team that's going to go for promotion. We thought Rotherham were a very good team, and Oxford are decent as well. So I think that showed a bit of character from Rotherham coming back from 3-1 down, because they could have had a disastrous 2 back-to-back games.
I would go for Northampton. Northampton.
Yeah, Cobblers.
There we go. No, it's true, because they won at Gillingham, big 6 points, so we thought that was a big game of the week last week, and so it proved. So that's a good result for them and Jimmy and Floyd Hasselbank, who's got them scoring and picking up points this week. So fair play to them. What about your hero of the week?
Well, you know what? The hero of the week was actually one of our own Wimbledon fans, because, bless him, Brett, who made his first appearance on Facebook Live.
Oh, we really are plumbing the depths.
He cheered me up no end, because he was the only person that I saw with a smile on their face after Saturday's defeat at Plymouth. There was a reason why he had a smile on his face, because he had a beer in his hand. He was a clever one who basically he got over that defeat by alcohol. But he's my hero, because he cheered me up. But don't take that too much to heart, Brett. You're not that much of a hero.
How about your villain?
My villain is quite easy this week. It was the chairman of the FA.
Again?
Well, Mr. Greg Clark, and his use of fluff in a parliamentary... he called the parliamentary committee, which he was on, he used the word fluff, as in terms of the reported or supposedly racism in the FA. But Greg Clark looks out of his depth. Wow, that is a person who's in charge of our national game. Yeah, so it worries me heavily.
That's a podcast in itself. What's pink and fluffy? You mentioned fluff. What's pink and fluffy?
I don't know.
Pink fluff.
Oh dear. Move on. What's your hero?
No. What's blue and fluffy?
Blue fluff.
Pink fluff that can't breathe. Yes, you
Your
asked
hero?
my hero of the week, Alexa Bliss. She retained her WWE Raw Women's Championship.
Did she actually wrestle, did she? I just thought she was just some sort of like pin-up.
What do you think that belt is she's got around her waist? Don't answer that. She's a proper performer. And she's
not there for show.
She's not just there for show. She can go as well in more ways than one. Anyway, villain. My villain. Oh, the Everton fan that tried to hit a Leon player whilst he was carrying his child. I mean,
that was crazy, wasn't it?
Jeez, honestly.
How was there no red cards at the end of that?
I love the fact he tried to defend himself afterwards, blaming Everton for not closing a gate or something that allowed him access to that position. Whatever, mate. Keep your hands to yourself, honestly. Sorry, let's not make a joke about that at the moment.
A very sorry week for Everton.
Very bad week for Everton. Yeah, they've sacked their manager as well, so yeah. Unhappy days for them. Right. We should be moving on, but to be honest, we really probably should round up the whole point of the first... How far are we into this? 53 minutes of the show. We really should round up, because the point was Neal Ardley was on trial, and are our fans correct? Those of them that are asking him to go. Where do we stand on the subject currently? I'll be very, very honest. I'm a big fan of Neal Ardley. I like him. Absolute legend. Wimbledon legend. I don't want him to go. I want him to turn it around. I want him to show that he can turn it around and get us motoring up the table and in reality keep us safe in this division. My worry is, and my concern is that the atmosphere around and the feel I get, my gut instinct is that it's just not going to happen. I just can't see that it's going to happen as much as I want it to. So I don't know whether it's a case of... It's too early, surely, still, though, to be thinking about getting rid. We're not cut adrift. We're not in the relegation zone. We've got winnable games. It's a long time to go, isn't there? So there's no need for any reaction just yet, is there? But we need to think perhaps, well, where's your cut-off point for where a decision might have to be made?
I don't know. I'm not going to be hypocritical and all of a sudden say that we should sack our manager, because I get frustrated when other teams make what I call knee-jerk reactions. And I think if we did that, I think we'll be as hypocritical as other clubs are. My biggest thing at the moment is I think the fans are turning because there's a lack of humility, maybe an understanding of what, we're not as good as we think we are, and I think Neal Ardley needs to. My biggest thing, if I was going to give any advice, not that he needs advice from me at any point, would be to hold some sort of like ad hoc meet the manager evening, get amongst the fans, come back down to our level. It feels to me at the moment it's a bit of a fight. It feels to me the media team and Neal Ardley are against anything. I've lost count of the amount of times that what's come out of our media, and Neal Ardley in particular, is so different to what we see. We're not stupid, we're fans, but we're not stupid. I just think we need to get that link back again. And I don't ever want to, if I'm being truthful, I don't really ever want to see us the day we sack Neal Ardley. I think he's done too much for us. He's too much of a, I've got a lot of time for him, and I would rather he go on his own accord quietly at the end of the season rather than sacking him. I don't think it does us any good, but the calling point is if we get to the end of the transfer window, if we get to January, we're in the bottom four, then there's a problem.
Well, yeah, it's a huge problem because you've missed out on a transfer window as well, then, haven't you?
We've got to do some serious. Yeah, we've got to do some serious. That January transfer window, I think, will be the difference between us staying up or going down. I think it's that big.
Interesting.
Very.
One of the points that some people make when we talk about discussing changing the manager is who would you get in to replace him? Which I get the argument is. I get their argument. I guess they're like, well, who can do a better job? I understand that. I don't think when it was Terry Brown's last days with us, we all had our ideas. At the time, the first name that I said was Sean Dyche, because at the time he was unemployed.
Was someone's recommendation to the board?
Was it really?
Yes. A very well-known Wimbledon ex-manager legend actually recommended him to the board.
Okay, interesting again, that word again. But yes, clearly he didn't. I don't think he applied for whatever reason. I can understand why.
He didn't.
No, I can understand why. Look where he is now, you understand why. But no one could have foreseen Neal Ardley being the man to replace Terry Brown, and that worked out pretty well. So it's not always a case of needing to have an idea of who's going to replace the current incumbent. And also, that's probably unfair on Neal as well if you've got people lined up waiting to go before you actually decide to get rid. It's a bit disrespectful. And
it was. Yeah,
we're not going to struggle to find a manager. It's not like it's a trade that there's a shortage of candidates for.
No, and I think I noticed on Facebook and I answered someone's question actually about who would you? It felt that the pro Neal Ardley fans were. Well, who'd you get? The grass is always greener. And I'm a pro Neal Ardley fan, so don't get me wrong, I'm not fighting the other corner. But I think, one, it's disrespectful to look at who would you replace him. I will answer that question as and when, if that happens. But to kid ourselves that we wouldn't have applications coming in left, right and centre from... There's a lot of managers out of work who are desperate to get in at any level. League One, look at Ryan Giggs. Ryan Giggs was interested in going to Oldham for... I know it's Manchester, or maybe it wasn't. Paul Scholes. Same thing. Same thing. One's Welsh, one's boring. But there's people that want to get in at all sorts of levels. So I think I would say, one, it's disrespectful to look at someone's, it's his job, his livelihood. So I don't think we should be looking at who should be taking his job, because he's still got one. And I still have this dream that Neal Ardley will lead us out at Plough Lane. This season's been a little bit of a kick in the teeth for that.
Is it me? Is it you? Who knows?
It's you. Does your person wear a hat?
No.
Does your person have a beard?
Uh-huh.
You're out of here.
Does your person wear glasses?
Yes.
You're Sam. You win.
Guess who? Game cards do not actually talk.
Let's run through Abdu Are You very, very quickly.
Of course.
Yeah, we're going to be a little bit late. We're going to go over the hour this week, but not by too much. We'll try and keep it as quick as we can. Probably helps if I stop saying these things, wouldn't it? Just taking up more time. Maybe I should put some more jokes in as well. No, let's go on. Right, Jimmy Abdu. This week, Jimmy Abdu's gone to visit an ex-Wimbledon player. He assumes this player is the oldest to have ever played for any Wimbledon team. That's your first clue.
The oldest? I'll be very quick on these, but I'd imagine Alan Court, because he's always looked old.
Do you know what? That's a good answer. I saw a video of him on YouTube today scoring for Sheffield United.
With the beard?
Yeah, well, yes, and he looks about 50.
That beard made him look a bit older. I never understood that.
No, I didn't understand the beard, but I had my theories. Anyway, okay, that's your first one. Well, second clue. It's going to rule Alan Cork out of this completely. He played in the same team as Chris Whelpdale. Played in the same team as Chris Whelpdale against us, but never for us.
What? Against us, but never for us?
Yes,
I get you. But Dean Parrott come with him from Stevenage? Or come to you, but... yeah, Dean Parrott.
He's not an ex-player, though.
Boo. Might as well be.
Ooh.
Stevenage. He played for Stevenage with Whelpdale, so... Who's got links with Stevenage? I'm trying to be quick, and I think you stumped me. So give us another clue. I can't think for the time being.
Okay. Right, final clue. This striker scored 5 goals in 21 appearances for us.
God, I can't think of it. His striker... 5 goals.
I'm going to pat myself on the back here. This is a good one. This is
5 goals in 21 appearances.
You can work it out from these clues, but they're not the easiest.
And a striker.
Yes.
See, I almost think Byron Harrison played with him at Stevenage, but he scored more goals than that. Byron Harrison.
It's not Byron Harrison, I'm afraid. You have the get-out clause of the anagram, which is perhaps the most fitting anagram of any player ever. Simply, an anagram of this player's name is Neanderthal.
What?
Yeah, it's one word. Neanderthal is an anagram of this player's name.
Nah, I'm stumped this year. This week.
This week. You're stumped, so you're going to kick yourself. Let me see if you can get it with one bonus clue. This won't count, of course, but I'll give you it anyway. He scored on his debut for us against Mansfield Town. Does that help?
No.
Do you know what? I didn't put that clue in the 3 because I thought you'd get it just from that.
I think because I'm trying to rush because we're so late. Mansfield... Nah, you've done me this week.
Done ya? It is Nathan Elder.
Well, that's why you done me. I can't remember. Oh, wow.
That's a good one.
Did he play at Stevenage?
No.
Where did he play with Whelpdale?
Billericay.
Oh, that's quite good for you.
Well, thanks. That's so kind.
Nathan Elder.
Nathan Elder, yeah, played with Chris Whelpdale. Assumed him to be one of the oldest players because of his surname, Elder. And then, yeah, scored a goal in 4 games.
You done well with that one. Well done.
That was a good one, actually. I was well impressed with that.
Yeah, I bet you were. Yeah. Right, moving on.
Anyway, well, I don't want to move on because we have to talk about Charlton, which was last season the best away day ever. I'm sure you'll agree. You loved that away day last season, didn't you?
Yes, I loved it.
When you were watching it on Sky Sports. This year, Carl Robinson.
Yeah. That's all you need to walk into when you're not playing well, isn't it?
Oh, isn't it just? Right, 3 wins and 3 draws from their last 6. 1 defeat at home in their 6 league games this season, so they suffer from the international call-ups problem, so they've had to postpone some games. Great win at Bradford last time out. Is this actually a game that suits us as underdogs? Similar to Blackburn.
Well,
we can shut up shop and catch them on the break with our electric attacking play between Liam Trotter and Tom Sawers. But not Will Nightingale, because he's not allowed to.
No. No, we are definitely underdogs, and I think this is probably one of our toughest games of the season, I reckon. Charlton 4 wins from 6 league games. I was looking at the experimental 361 website, which if you've not ever encountered it, have a look. Yeah, just type in experimental 361, it brings you to some great stats. But Charlton basically have a busy attack and a busy defence. So they roughly on average have 14.5 shots per match, and they face 12 shots per match. So it suggests that it's an all-action type of game. We're coming to their place, so
It's
I think what it suggests is they can get lots of shots in. I think their biggest danger player, and I hate to say it, but he's turning out to be one hell of a player, is Ricky Holmes. He's a threat from set pieces. He's a threat from open play. Do you know what? I would happily take Liam Trotter, Tom Sawers, and Jimmy Abdou playing on Saturday just to man mark him. I think we really need to be on our mettle and defend really well. And it's a game that I don't have an issue us going there and trying getting a 0-0. I really don't. There's certain times you go to places and get 0-0s. Charlton, if we get a point from there, I think we've done very well.
They have got a lot of talented players there, haven't they? I mean, you just look at that list. You say Holmes, Tarek Fosu, Mensah, Josh McGuinness, Jake Forster-Caskey. Is this the best squad on paper that we've played so far this season?
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Prediction then?
0-0.
Last week I said it would be 0-0 against Plymouth, and you said you'd throw things at me if it was. And it was actually worse than that. It was so bad that Neal Ardley even said post-match that he'd have been happy had it ended 0-0, which is bizarre.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he did say that. He said if we'd have had one of those days where we'd have created as many chances as we had, which was a red herring in itself because it only came first shot on target against Plymouth was 65th minute. But he said if it wasn't for the fact we conceded, that's a big if, then it would have just been a frustrating day where it didn't go right for us, which is a huge red herring, but we've already discussed.
It's just what's wrong with us at the moment. We were taking 0-0. No, they were bottom of the league.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll be taking a 0-0.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Quickly, another pick of games from League One this coming weekend.
I did have a quick look, believe it or not. So, Oldham Scunthorpe, which I think is quite a good one.
Oldham, can I just interject there, sorry, as we are recording this, not to give any secrets of our recording away, they've just won. They've beaten Bury tonight 2-1, so another win for them and their new manager.
Yeah, and you have to wonder when the honeymoon period stops. Or does it stop? I hope so, because I fancy Oldham to go down. I want teams to be worse than what we are, and Oldham were one of those teams that I thought might be.
They're not anymore, I tell you. They're not anymore.
But they've
Doyle up front who scores goals for fun. They're only 5 points off the playoffs.
And we said that recruitment of Doyle was absolutely crazy. Good little striker at Chesterfield. Yeah, and I'm looking at Plymouth Rochdale, so you can tell where I'm focusing at the moment. So, yes. What about you?
Yeah, no, Plymouth Rochdale. My same as you. I'm concentrating on the bottom six, and yes, that game is a big game. It'll be interesting to see how Plymouth get on after their good week. They had a good week, didn't they? I mean, if you were to look at the previous week, so Plymouth, they drew with Shrewsbury, they drew at Blackburn, and then they beat us. And then we had a win at Northampton, a win over Rotherham, and then we lost to Plymouth. We got 6 points out of 9. Plymouth got 5 points out of 9. But who had the better week?
Yeah. It says it, and that's the thing, isn't it? 6 points out of 9. You think great week, but you finish the 3 games with a performance like that. It just kills you.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, one team that are very, very consistent are our ladies' team. They are in sensational form.
Go on, the ladies.
In the league. Come on, the ladies. They won again on Sunday, this time 1-0 away at Cambridge United. They are top of the FA Women's Premier League South East Division 1. And this week they travel to Enfield Town. Not too far to go. If you want to go and watch the ladies, support the girls, which is what I would be doing. But Stu, I've got wrestling to attend this weekend on Sunday.
Really?
I'll be going to the wrestling. Camden Town. Oh, yes.
Camden Town, they're slumming it a bit, aren't
they? Slumming it, that's not WWE though, it's Progress, it's the British independent company. So I get to see my second favourite female lady wrestler, Toni Storm, in action, so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Is that a bloke or is that a bird?
Tony with an eye.
Is that a lady? Sorry.
Yeah, my favourite female lady wrestler. Manners. Is that a girl? Yes, it is. I mean...
She's probably not sure. She's probably not sure anyway. Sorry, moving on.
Dear me, we're digging ourselves a hole here. Owls aren't dogs, by the way. I should have said that at the top of the podcast. That's our new tagline, isn't it? Owls are not dogs. They're not furry either, but never mind. And also I'm going to see a wrestler called Keith Lee. It's the second time I'd have seen him, actually, who the last time I saw him wrestle was the subject of the best ever chant I've ever heard at any event ever, which was, "You're just a small town in Yorkshire," which was brilliant. So
legendary.
Currently, wrestling fans have more wit than football fans. It must be said, actually, I know we're dragging on and on, sorry, but we talked about negativity in defensive football and stuff like that. Coming into that Rotherham, after that Rotherham victory, we won 3-1, didn't feel like it when that game kicked off against Plymouth, did it?
No.
Do you reckon that was because we saw the team line up and it sucked the wind out of everyone? Because it was dead.
Pretty much. It was very windy. It was very windy, wasn't
it? Does that affect the atmosphere?
I think it does. I don't think the sound travelled too much.
No, true.
But yeah, it was
quite a sustained cheer when they scored their goal, though. Probably the loudest I've heard from an away team in quite some time.
Yeah, boo.
Yeah, well, anyway. It was pointed out to me as we finish off the show here, Joel Grant, of course, he played for Aldershot when we beat them in the trophy, when we were a Ryman Premier League team.
Yeah, he's done well. He's done well, hasn't he?
Small world, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, that is enough. We've wattled. I've created a new word. We've wattled on for far too long this week, so we are going to go now. Thank you for listening. Please remember to like us and subscribe to us if you're listening on either iTunes or YouTube. If you're listening through our website, leave a comment underneath and tell us what you think. That is it for us this week. Thank you, Stu, for joining me.
No problem.
Thank you to you guys for listening. Join us next week when we'll be speaking to Neal Ardley and the squad about... what? Blue and Yellow Club? Well, how much is that? So you have to pay valuable contribute? All right, whatever. Okay, scrap that. Join us next week. We'll be joined by someone else. Who could we afford, Stu? Brett? Brett's going to come on? Is that where our budget can stretch to? Maybe Moses off Kingston Road? Who knows? All right, anyway. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last. And we will speak to you again next week.